12 bow ties before I could find the right one.
How did you finally decide?
Well, I needed the right burgundy in my
Yeah.
All right, everyone, we need to pick a topic for next month's Launch Your Classroom. I'm open to ideas.
Instructional differentiation.
I like it.
How about student collaboration?
That could be really useful.
Wait, what if we did rules and consequences with the Cup of Excellence competition?
I like the direction, but I think we've done that one already.
Ryan brings up the Cup of Excellence every writers' meeting.
Have we done that before?
Yes, remember? They made me arm wrestle.
Is Ryan putting on a tie?
He played a character named Chet Redbird. You know, it really was a great performance.
Can't they not?
Okay, let's get back to the task at hand. Next episode topic. New guy.
New guy.
Ooh, or Heather.
Heather.
How about more teacher success stories?
It's another great idea, but will it be what Johnny's looking for?
I love the idea, but let's make it the season finale.
Still no topic for next month.
Yeah, let's all take a break and we'll come back later and brainstorm some more.
Welcome to Launch Your Classroom. I'm Kyle Pope. I want you to take a second and think of a student who routinely makes your day. They always speak to you at the beginning of class, they willingly engage in your planned activities, and they're the first to volunteer when a classroom chore needs to be completed. Developing a positive relationship with this type of student is easy. But what about the other students who are a bit quiet, or even the opposite, students who are very disruptive? Are you making the effort to build relationships with them too? And are you creating an atmosphere where those students can connect with each other? Having a strong classroom community requires a teacher who develops strong connections among all of their students. As these bonds grow, the teacher is rewarded with trust, collaboration, and students who are excited to learn. So today on Launch Your Classroom, we're going to focus on how to build a strong classroom community through positivity, recognition, and facilitating constructive discussions. Let's begin with our first strategy.
It is so important to recognize the efforts and talents of all of your students. Doing this will build trust, foster community, and make your students feel capable of anything. I've got 2 strategies to help you get started. First up, the fridge. Oh no, we're not going to look for some snacks. In the United States, it is customary to display great news or work on the refrigerator to celebrate it. For your own classroom fridge, you'll want a big piece of paper. And you can have fun with the design of it too. When a student shows growth on an assignment, ask them if it's all right to display their work on the fridge. Hey there, Sully. You really knocked it out of the park on our last quiz. Is it okay if I post it on the fridge?
Oh, wow, thanks. Of course.
Way to go, Sally.
Good job, bud.
It's working already. However, the fridge is for everyone. You can praise a student for their success outside of class as well. Clarice told me while I was greeting her at the door this morning that she made the swim team. That's definitely something to celebrate.
So cool.
You're so brave.
What's really amazing is when students nominate each other for the fridge. Encourage your kids to brag on each other. Keep in mind that you are the final authority and students will need your approval before something goes up. Speaking of which, Patrick told me earlier that Arthur helped him memorize his clarinet solo.
All right, great work, pal.
Keep all of your fridge-worthy achievements up for the entire month. Take down items on the fridge at the end of each month and redistribute them to the students to whom they belong. And each month, start fresh. Be sure to feature all of your students, especially those who aren't used to praise. Often, they need it the most. Another great way to work in that recognition is the praise umbrella. You can put your students who are less used to praise in a group with your higher performing students. Stop the class when the group does something positive. Name each student when you point out their success, including the difficult student, whether or not they were responsible. 1, 2, 3, eyes on me.
1, 2, eyes on you.
I would like to point out to the class that Clarice, Arthur, and Patrick all did a great job completing their word problems together. You can also do this while students are working on individual assignments. Walk around the room while your students are working. Once you get to your reluctant student's desk, point to a problem they've gotten correct and ask if they wouldn't mind sharing their answer with the class when it's time to review.
Hey, Jasper, would you mind sharing your correct response with the class in just a minute?
Oh, sure.
When you call on the student, make sure you praise them again. Acknowledging every student for their varying talents will make them feel included, safer, and capable. You'll notice that your students will model your praise by becoming more supportive of one another. Give these strategies a try, and you and your students will be able to weather any storm.
One of the greatest gifts a teacher can give their students is a positive classroom community. This is an environment that communicates safety, kindness, and an eagerness to learn. Students know they have a unique place and identity in the class because you took the time to understand them individually. This is best described as a culture of trust. Teachers create the foundation for a positive environment. They model empathetic listening and insist that students are respectful of one another in class discussion. When students know that you expect them to be kind, open-minded listeners, they will be more comfortable sharing their ideas. Soon, they will share experiences and ideas with one another that bring them together. Teachers can foster community building by stepping out of the center of the conversation, encouraging students to speak with one another and praising the academic risks students take. After all, true teaching moments happen when students talk to one another. Once you create this basis for a positive classroom community, plan activities that move students out of their usual friend groups. Now that students are used to listening to one another, this is a chance to break down social barriers in your classroom. Students can gain a whole new perspective when they speak to classmates who are less like them. One way to get students used to speaking with one another outside their social group is to create team-building activities. Have the whole class work towards a common goal. Give them opportunities to congratulate one another and appreciate their individual skills. They will grow by learning new things about themselves through others. One more amazing benefit of a positive classroom culture is what it gives back to the rest of the school and greater community. Take every chance you get to praise your students outside the classroom. Communicate with colleagues and parents about the gains your students are making. Students who experience a culture of trust in your class shine that positivity into other parts of their lives. This will make them better students, leaders, and friends. Taking the time to build a classroom community is time well invested. In doing so, you provide a place where every student can listen, learn, and grow.
Welcome.
Oh, the writers' meeting? I think it went really well. We got a lot of ideas for the rest of the season.
Brett? Oh, you mean new guy. He was a little quiet. I'm pretty sure it was just nerves from his first writers' meeting.
He didn't really participate in the discussion, but now that I think about it, it was probably our fault for not giving him a chance to speak.
Remember to include him in the future. It's so important to have a positive office community.
Of course, just like a positive classroom community.
Hey, Brett, ready for the next writers' meeting?
Getting your students to interact with each other and feel safe while sharing ideas is vital to classroom community building. Mr. Austin is facilitating a whole class discussion today. Why don't we take a look at how he does it?
So before we start today, I want to remind everybody that there's no right or wrong answers. We're going to investigate our topic with open minds, curiosity, and respect for one another. All right? Okay. Let's discuss what we all think about Gollum. What themes could his character possibly represent?
Making sure to set expectations before the discussion will help your students to relax and learn from one another. The point of discussions isn't for your students to give correct responses, but to exercise critical thinking. So, be sure to praise them for participating. Team answering is a great strategy to help your quieter students feel more comfortable joining in. Encourage your kids to build off each other's ideas or explore alternatives.
That's a great thematic connection, Jasper. What's another way to think about it, gang?
I think loneliness is what motivates Gollum.
I don't think that's right. I think he's greedy.
Inevitably, your students aren't going to agree on everything, and that's okay. But you need to remind students to not be dismissive of one another's opinions. When a disagreement happens, have your students practice the I wonder strategy. Tell them to begin their responses to one another with, I wonder, so they can reply thoughtfully. This challenges them to find value in other perspectives. You can remind students what to do with a signal that you've explained to the class beforehand.
Oh, I wonder if greed can make people feel lonesome.
But what about your more eager participants? Having talkative students is amazing, but sometimes they can have a hard time knowing when to let others have the floor. The 3 chances method will help your talkative students choose what they share for quality, not quantity, and make space for your quieter students to share their ideas. Before the discussion, give each student 3 small items to represent their chances to speak. Mr. Austin is using pom-poms. Each time a student speaks, they'll put one of their pom-poms in the collection basket.
That's one possible way to look at it, Clarice. Can we think of any other possibilities, class?
I think the Shire and hobbits symbolize living in harmony with nature.
I think that rings true.
If your students are out of chances to speak and still have more to share, encourage them to write their ideas down and turn them in later for you to review. You can share them with the class at another time and praise your students for their critical thinking yet again. Giving your students the tools to become better conversationalists will connect them with one another and create an environment that they can all participate in. With a little encouragement from you, each student will know that their voice deserves to be heard.
Once you've built a positive classroom community with your students, it's time to broaden their horizons. You have taught them to understand and care for one another within your classroom. Now, you can encourage them to extend that curiosity into other cultures. If you give your students opportunities for exposure, they will build an awareness of the world around them and be motivated to contribute to it. Let's look at some ways you can open your students' minds and remind them that we are all interconnected. Virtual field trips are one resource you have at your fingertips at this very moment. This is an interactive, exciting way to let students research other places and people. You can take your students on tours of places featured in your curriculum, bringing your content to life. For an extra level of involvement, let students role play as scientists, journalists, even translators embarking on a global adventure. Few students have the luxury of travel. When you give them this opportunity, even virtually, you're actually fostering equity for your students. Think of these field trips as a virtual passport.
Another way you can bring global communities together for your students is to get them actively involved in a cultural event. Provide your students, colleagues, and stakeholders with a chance to learn about a place they've never visited. You can share food traditions, art, dance, songs, and stories that bring the world to your school. Inviting everyone to take part gives them a chance to learn about how other people live. Talking to people around the world breaks down cultural barriers. Assigning virtual pen pals allows your students to communicate with peers who live in another culture. Students love talking with other students, whether by letter, email, video, or soundbite. And when they can interact with young people in different cultures, they will learn new perspectives. Just as importantly, they will learn what similarities bring them together. You give your students tools for the future every day, so why not give them the world too? By bringing cultural experiences to your students and community, you can enrich the lives of your students and give them a true global perspective.
Being a part of something makes you feel happier and more secure. The same is true for belonging to a positive classroom community. As you grow relationships with all of your students and facilitate student connections with each other, your class will become increasingly invested in one another and your curriculum. So I encourage you to start working on building those bonds by providing equitable, positive recognition and facilitating constructive discussions. I guarantee you'll be happy with the results. This month on Launch Your Classroom, we're going to continue to focus on the topic of creating a classroom community. We're going to demonstrate a strategy for how you can use empathy to build rapport. We'll sit down with an expert educator to discuss common questions teachers have about classroom community. Then we'll finish up the month with some tips on how you can explore your greater community. So be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel to get all of our upcoming professional development content. Thank you, and we'll see you next time on Launch Your Classroom.
Hey, Kyle.
Hey, Johnny. I'm glad I caught you before we got started. I think Brett felt a little left out last meeting.
Oh, yeah. That's totally our mistake. Let's be sure to include him and make him feel more welcome this time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, everyone, we still need a topic for next week's episode. Now, last time we heard from Kyle and Rachel and Heather and Ryan.
Brett, it looked like you had something to say, and we would really love to hear from you.
Well, how about digital learning?
Wow, that's a great idea.
It's such an important topic.
Then it's settled. Next month, we're doing digital learning.
Excellent job, Brett. We are so glad that you're part of the team.
How was my first day in the writer's room?
Brett.
It was really terrific.
Wait, what if we did digital learning with the Cup of Excellence competition?